Hey, this is Todd Howarth from Ace Frehley's Comet, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent, 707, 4x Fate, and Return of the Comet. Hey, you are listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Warden. Yep, that's what you're listening to, and you're listening to it all night long. And maybe during the day. Hell, I don't know. I'm not there. But take my word for it.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly, back again. If you're wondering where Warden is, well, to no fault of his own. We've had, on my end, the last week or so, we've had some things go on in my family. I lost my uncle last Tuesday for last, not this week, but the last week. And this week I've had another family emergency pop up. And due to that, we're not recording this week, but we will have a new show out. This is one I've had in the bucket for a while. And one of my good buddies on another podcast and a former, not classmate, but we went to the same school together. Chris Odom from the Swamp Talk with Quinton and Chris podcast joined me a while back, and we did our top 10 Ozzy Osbourne songs. And, and if you noticed, we haven't done a lot of bracket challenges on Twitter lately, and that's my fault. I've fallen down with a job. I never completed a Black Sabbath, which we will get back to shortly. But this week we're going to do the top 10 Ozzy Osbourne songs, and we're going to do our bracket. We're going to start the bracket challenge up again with the Ozzy Osbourne. I'm going to try to see. I know Facebook is letting you do polls in the groups on Facebook, so if you're a member of the On the Fly Facebook group, you can vote there. I hope we can do it. I hope it's not too complicated. It shouldn't be, but if they'll let us do it. But we'll definitely have it on Twitter. We thank Chris for coming on. Sorry it took so long to put it out there. I wanted to keep one in the bucket. So if we're talking about stuff that is a little dated in there, then you know why. This was done a while back. But anyway, keep my family in your prayers if that's what you do. Send good thoughts, send prayers, and hopefully in the next week or so, like I said, I've got another episode I can put out next week, but hopefully in the next week or so we'll be back recording. And thank you guys. We've hit another milestone this week, and I have a lot of people to thank for that. All of you mainly that listen and support us. Warden has come on and done a great job. I don't know what I'd do without him. I thank him. He's become not only just a partner on the podcast, but he's become a good friend. The other podcasts that look out for us, Tom and Zeus, the Potter than Hell podcast. Steve Wright over there. He's become a good supporter. The Right Between the Eyes podcast. They have given me words of encouragement, and we're talking about Rob Myers over there at the Right Between the Eyes podcast and his guys, and Gomez and Brian from Playlist Wars, who are doing their own podcast now. But thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope you enjoy this. Give us your thoughts on your top 10 Ozzy songs, and by all means vote. And move your choices ahead, because I'll have a 64, the top 64. We're going to go by our top 10. I'm going to narrow it down, and they'll be the first seeds, and then we'll go from there with the rest of the 64. But hoping to get things back to normal soon, and we'll see you guys there. You guys have a great week. Enjoy On the Fly. What's up, guys? On the Fly is back again. Tonight, we got another special guest with us tonight. Last night we talked a little Black Sabbath. Tonight, we're going to talk Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, it's just I'm telling you, I'm hearing, like I said last night, I'm hearing Ozzy in my sleep. He's got Sharon, Sharon. But Ozzy Osbourne, lead singer of Black Sabbath, leaves Black Sabbath, or is kicked out of Black Sabbath, however you want to go by that. I think he was kicked out of Black Sabbath, but then goes on to have a great career, probably better career than he would have had with Sabbath if he stayed there. But tonight, we're going to give our top 10 favorite Ozzy Osbourne songs. And with me tonight, I got a fellow Northeast Academy alumni that, I come across by coincidence, by chance, this past year. Chris Odom from the Swamp Talk podcast, straight out of Gates County. How you doing, bud?
Hey man, I'm doing good. Glad to be here. How are you?
I'm good. We like I said, Chris watched most went live like we are tonight. We went live last night talking about Black Sabbath, and tonight Chris was there, and Chris his Black Sabbath list. But tonight it's all Ozzy, and this is the singles, I guess what you wanted. But Ozzy, and talk a little bit about Ozzy. One of the things that I always thought that was so good about Ozzy, and starting with the late great Randy Rhoads, Ozzy managed to pick up. He always managed to pick up these guitar gods from Randy Rhoads to Jakey Lee to Zakk Wylde to Gus G. I mean, the list goes on, but he always manages to have that guitar god. I don't know how he does it, but he finds. I don't know if it's Sharon. I don't know who it is, but they always manage to find these great guitar players.
Yeah, he really does. And of course, when Randy Rhoads was still with him way back at first discovered Ozzy. I think, first album, I was about 6 or 7 years older than you. I think it was 81, maybe, when Blizzard came out.
Yeah, 81. I was 8 years old when that happened. So, and scared to death, still scared to death. Like I said last night, I wasn't scared of Kiss with their freaking Gene Simmons with the demon spitting blood and breathing fire. But I was scared of Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, especially when this guy bites the head off a freaking dove. I mean, come on.
I remember it. I remember all of that. I think if I remember correctly, me and my buddies, O.C. Barnes and Jeff Tyler and a couple of the guys, we actually first got discovered Ozzy once he was solo. We really didn't know much about Black Sabbath at that time, because we were more, I think in the beginning, probably middle school up to freshman, we were more Leonard Skinner than more Southern rock type thing. And then Ozzy came out, and then, hey, we found out he was in Black Sabbath. We started listening to some of that.
Yeah.
But, instead of the other way.
So, and if you listen to us last night talk, you know how I come across Ozzy and Black Sabbath from freaking professional wrestling, the Road Warriors, coming out to Iron Man by Black Sabbath, and then went from there. And luckily, I had some friends that were big into 80s rock and had a lot of stuff I could listen to. I could see how I liked, and it was I don't know if you remember Earl Futrell from Rich Square, lived over right there. He was friends with my brother, and he had a lot of stuff, and he would let me borrow it. And Ozzy stuff, Bark at the Moon was something I listened to. But the way I came into Ozzy as a solo act was Friday night videos. This was back, and you guys in Rich Square, y'all were living the high life. Y'all had MTV and all that. Us over here in Alaska, we had a freaking outside antenna that you had to take. You had to take a daggum pipe wrench and turn, and you had 3 channels, maybe 5. We may have 4 channels, 5, 7, and 9, and you may get ABC sometimes. But Friday night videos was the only way we saw music videos. And I was sitting there, and you had to stay up till like 12:30. It was after Johnny Carson came on. You had to stay up 12:30. Didn't have the VCR or DVR back then. So I'm sitting there watching one night, and I see the video for "Shot in the Dark," and I'm like, "This is Ozzy Osbourne." And I'm like, "Wait a minute here. This is actually pretty good." What? And I was like, "I ain't scared of him. He's not scary." So because I was I was 12 years old then, so I wasn't really scared of him. But yeah, "Shot in the Dark" got me on him as a solo act, and then I went out and bought the cassette, and that's how it went from there. I've been an Ozzy fan ever since then. But you guys with Blizzard of Oz come out, I mean, I can't imagine as much as like with Crazy Train, and everybody talks about Crazy Train gets played all the time. So fatigued, but it's still a great song. But I'm sure you guys were like, "Wow, what the heck is this?"
Oh, we were, and when Blizzard came out, I think me and OC had the cassettes. This was cassette era, and at the time, I believe the song "I Don't Know" came out actually before Crazy Train. I think
that's probably right.
We used to get it on. You and I've talked about it before. K94 and FM 99 was around back then, but they were there. They had just started out. They weren't anywhere near like they are today. But that was about the only place you could hear it. I think, around in our area anyhow, you couldn't get any other really rock channels. But yeah, Blizzard came out, and we got let's see, Crazy Train came out, and everybody went about that, and Diary of a Madman wasn't far behind that, which to me, I mean, before we get into all the other stuff, to me, Diary was my favorite Ozzy album.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think, in my opinion, there isn't a bad song on it. I love everything on it. And we actually, OC and I got to go. We went to see Ozzy on.
We lost your audio there for a second.
We went to Hampton Coliseum to see. We had gotten tickets to see Ozzy on the Diary of a Madman tour, and 2 weeks before the concert is when Randy Rhoads was killed. So
wow,
they still held the tour still went on, but Brad Gillis, who went on to be the Night Ranger lead guitarist, he actually was playing with Ozzy when we went to see them in Hampton. And that's cool, man. At that point in time, which I had only been to a few at that point, this is 1982, I guess. I hadn't been to but maybe a handful of shows at that time, but it still is one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Because that stage setup for that tour was pretty awesome. Watching the video of it, I don't know how if it was set up the same way as I saw on the video, but it looked pretty awesome from the video what I saw of what they did for that stage setup. Yeah,
I think there was like maybe a castle or something like a stone wall or something behind the Brunswick. But the coolest thing, and I mean, some people, I guess you had to be there, and you may have seen it on the video before. Ozzy had I'm not politically correct. I'm gonna say a midget, a small person, as a monk with a black robe and everything on, and the monk would come out and hand Ozzy towels or bring him water or whatever, throughout the show. And when they played Goodbye to Romance, they hung the monk. They had a noose around his neck.
Wow.
And he was swinging.
That's some Alice Cooper stuff there.
I up near the drums and they started playing, and the monk started swinging across the stage with the noose around his neck.
Now I must have missed that part on the video. I had to go back and check that out though, but I'll check it out. We do have a comment already in the peanut gallery over here. Neil Callahan from Northampton County, boy. He's giving some of his favorites over here, and we'll make sure that we share that at the end. He 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 that he's putting up here. So yeah, and after after the Ultimate Sin, I just really everything Ozzy, and I went. That's when like I've said before, you didn't have the YouTube, you didn't have the Apple Music and all this where you could just I'm gonna go up and listen to him on. Yeah, you had to go out and buy this stuff, and checking out his back catalog, because Diary and like I said, Earl helped me out a lot with that because he had Diary and Bark at the Moon. We listened to a lot of that stuff, but man, so many good songs. It was hard for me to narrow it down. I've got probably 25 songs that I had to pick from over here. So I know somebody will probably call me out on what I left out or what I didn't put up here. But these, like I said, this is our list. These are our favorite song list. And if you don't like it, you give us your list, and we'll pick yours apart too. But no, I'm just joking. Everybody likes something different. But let's get it started real quick. And you being the guest, we're going to let you start off with your number 10.
All right. My number 10 was one I just mentioned a few seconds ago, Goodbye to Romance from the Blizzard of Oz album. That, like you, I put down a long list and I picked through them. It's hard to, just pick a few. But I went with that one. I really liked the guitar work in that. And I don't know, his album, he had real hard driving songs, and then he had that, which most of his albums do. But no, it was just something I actually like that song better now than I did back then. And I think probably the story I was telling a second ago about the monk probably made me put it on there, but I have a lot better now than I did way back then. It was, back then when we first got that album and all, we were all about straight ahead, just hardcore rock. We didn't really care about ballad. But
yeah, that came later on with the rock music. I think in the later to mid 80s, that's when the bands decided, we need to sing a ballad, or at least one ballad on every album. And Ozzy, actually, it's funny because I think the year before I graduated, the senior class, that was their class song was Goodbye to Romance. And got a lot of people, when people see and they're looking at the little program and they're saying class song Goodbye to Romance by Ozzy Osbourne, and they're like, wait a minute here, what's going on here? Raise some eyebrows there with the Ozzy Osbourne song as your class song, but it's still good. Goodbye to Romance is a great song. I think too with that, I think Ozzy knew how he had something special with Randy Rhoads, and Randy Rhoads could spread his wings and do a lot of different things, and Goodbye to Romance was one, because you got a classically trained guitar player right there that could do just about anything with a guitar. And the older I got, the more I appreciated what Randy Rhoads did. And this is one of those great songs, Goodbye to Romance, at number 10. So my number 10 is a newer Ozzy song, and it's Let Me Hear You Scream. And I remember the first time I heard this was when I first started coaching. And you're always looking for pregame music to play to get the guys pumped up and whatever. And I was listening through music, and I hear this, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be good. It's hard driving. It's heavy. It's got a good beat to it. And we got a hey, we got a guy, somebody on Twitter giving their list too. We hadn't seen that before, but I'll read that off in a little bit too. But yeah, Let Me Hear You Scream, and it's just I think it was actually on a couple of video games. Grand Theft Auto was one of them. But when my football players heard it for the first time, they were like, "Okay, this is good here." So, but typical Ozzy song, "Let Me Hear You Scream" is my number 10.
That's a good one. I like that one too.
All right, what's your number 9?
Number 9, I've got also from the Blizzard album, "Steal Away the Night." I love that.
Night.
It's it's up tempo. I love the guitar in it. And I'm going to probably be heavy on the first part of the first couple of few albums anyhow. But here again, this is another one that in 1981 or 82 I didn't care as much about. Back we were everybody wanted to hear Crazy Train. And,
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I know you've mentioned a couple times. I myself, I feel like it is played to death. And that's something Eddie. I heard Eddie Trunk. I know you listen to Eddie sometimes. I was listening to him a few weeks ago, and he had a caller call in about deep tracks and stuff, and Eddie was talking about that's a lot of what satellite radio. You will get more of that. I'm sorry, you won't. You get more. They try to play more the popular songs, which you do. There are certain stations that you do get deep tracks on. But back then, I was stuck like most everybody else on listening to the big hits and everything. We just played Crazy Train over and over and over. It's bad to say, I don't even play it anymore because I'm just so burned out with it. And it gives me nowadays, I go back, the last few years, I'll go back to these albums and listen to some of those other songs that I didn't listen to as much. And Steal Away is one of them. I mean, I was listening to it the other night with my headphones. I love that. I missed a lot back then listening to other stuff.
You're gonna be surprised when we get to my top 5 on some of the deeper cuts. Not I won't say deeper, but there's one up there that has really come across to me and made me a fan. I love the song now, and hearing it, I sat there and listened to the whole album, and then when I heard that song, I said, "Man, I got to go back and listen to this again. How did I miss this before?"
Yeah.
So we'll get to that in my top 5 when we get to that. But number 9 for me, it's off the Ultimate Sin. It's Lightning Strikes, and Jake E. Lee. Man, I love Jake E. Lee because that was when I got into Ozzy.
Right.
But he plays a great guitar solo on this, and the riff that he opens up with on this, and then it just kicks into. And Randy Castillo, I don't know if you remember him on the drums, a big guy on the drums. Man, when he pops into that drum intro too, I was like, this is freaking awesome here. I love pretty much the whole Ultimate Sin album, but that right there is one of my favorites. And some of the effects on it when he goes to the guitar solo was great too. But Jake E. Lee, I hated to see him leave Ozzy, but I know I don't know what the deal was there. I'm sure it was something with Sharon, but he actually did a band that I don't know if you heard of them after he left Ozzy. He did a band called Badlands.
I've heard. Yeah.
If you ever haven't heard that album, that first album, the Badlands album, it is a great album. The Eric Singer, who went on to play drums for Kiss, playing drums for Kiss now, he's in it. Right. Can't remember the singer's name. I know he passed away. I think he had some ties to later Black Sabbath, but yeah, that's a good album. But now we got Red Dragon Cartel with Jake E. Lee. They do a good job. But and Jake E. Lee pretty much vanished for a long time until Red Dragon Cartel come out. And it was something about Jakey Lee, though. I guess it was because it was the first guitar player of several guitar players that Ozzy had that were so great. But yeah, Lightning Strikes is number 9 for me. All right, let's go to
Yep,
your number 8.
Number 8, we're going to move over to Diary of a Madman album, SATO. That's another one that's kind of like still away from me. It's just that hard, I love that hard rocking sound that he had on that. And Randy, Randy Rhoads, that's him on that one as well. And he was just, you're talking about, I'm probably getting off here a little bit. You were talking about Jakey Lee. To me, Jakey Lee and Randy were probably, in my opinion, a little closer in their play. Zach Wilde is just hard,
Yeah.
But now that one there, we did play that one a lot back then, and I think actually when we saw him, he played that song because he played most of, pretty much all of the first 2 albums. I think he played a couple of Black Sabbath songs. We were there as well, but that SATO song, I've always loved that.
Do you know what SATO supposedly stands for?
Well, I don't want to embarrass, but go ahead.
It's nothing bad. It's really nothing bad. I did not, if I didn't hear it and it would come from Sharon Osbourne's mouth, I guess somebody said Sharon Osbourne said it stands for Sharon Arden and what's her name? The first wife, Thelma Osborne.
Yeah.
His first wife
I've
and
never
Sharon. That's what they say it stands for. But I was like, really? And that kind of gives me a different look on the whole song. I was like, he's writing it about his wives. But I thought that was kind of funny there when I've heard that, because I just found that out in the last couple of weeks when I was looking up stuff for
right.
this. So Sharon Arden, Thelma Osborne. All right. So my number 8, and this is a kind of a newer one. See You on the Other Side. I like it's something different. The way it starts, it's slow, but no coincidence here. And we talked a little bit about this last night. You've got Geezer Butler, who was in the band on this one. He played bass on this one. Zach Wilde played guitar, and I think Geezer had a lot to do with this song. I really do. I think him and Ozzy were collaborating on this song. But I think Lemmy had a lot. Lemmy Kilmister, the late great, had a lot to do with this song. And but man, it's just something different. It comes off the Osmosis album, which I like Perry Mason, but I'm not a big fan of the Osmosis album. But this song right here, when I heard it, man, it's just something different and great Ozzy song. But that's my number 8.
I like that one. That is a good one.
So number 7.
I have it written down, but make the list.
You got that on
Number
your
7.
on your list?
Well, no. See You on the. I had it written down on the side over here, but I didn't on the list. Number 7.
That's how
Jakey
I had
Lee.
some of these songs. I got a lot on the side over here.
Yeah, well, I did too. But Bark at the Moon I've got for number 7.
Bark at the Moon.
Yeah, that one. I think that was the first release. That was the title track, but that was the first release, I think, from that album. I believe.
Yeah, and this is really your first look of Ozzy Osbourne without Randy Rhoads, with new guitar with
Right.
Jakey Lee. So, but yeah, you think Jakey Lee was told to play close to Randy Rhoads as he could?
It's possible back, they wanted to try to keep it as close as they could. I think I remember one big thing about that song is I remember the video all the time
Yeah.
You know, we MTV played rock video. That was I mean, you saw it all the time. And every time we heard it come on, we were stuck in front of the TV. You know, but there's probably trying to carry over a little bit from Randy, because like I say, his playing was a little more. I'm not sure what to call it, but it was more resembled probably more of Randy.
Yeah, definitely. So Bark at Me, and you talk about the video. Ozzy would do some. Let's see, how would you put it? Theatrical stuff in his videos. You know,
Yeah.
Bark at the Moon, he turns into a werewolf.
Yeah.
Shot in the Dark, he's got a girl that turns into a demon woman. You know, he always had something going on in these, and especially in the early days and early videos. But yeah, he was definitely hitting that MTV audience there back when MTV actually played music. And I don't know what the M in MTV stands for anymore, but it's not music. And that's my little vent for the day. Number 7 for me is off No More Tears. And I love No More Tears. The whole album is great. But this song was a collaboration with Lemmy. We talked about Lemmy a little bit. It's Hellraiser. They actually just did a 30th anniversary of the Hellraiser song with Lemmy singing. And man, it is freaking awesome. I wasn't a big Motorhead fan, but when Lemmy came on with that song, I was like, man, this is pretty cool to see two legends like Ozzy and Lemmy together and hear them together like that. But yeah, and No More Tears. That's the second album with Zakk Wylde in it. But No More Tears had so many great songs on it, and I've got another one coming up a little bit further up the line from No More Tears. But Hellraiser for me is my number 7. Like I said, the collaboration, and Ozzy's done some collaborations. I don't know if you've listened to Ordinary Man much, the newest album he's done, and a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's good. I really do. I'm enjoying that one.
I've heard of maybe a song, I think, from it. The greatest thing I think I've ever done was get satellite radio in my truck.
Right.
And you can't, or over here you got maybe 2 classic rock stations, I guess they call them now. And it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you know, now I've got the satellite. You can pick what you want to hear. My favorite of, I think, is the hair metal station, and then Ozzy Boneyard. But
that would be my 2 favorite there if I had it. Yeah.
That's the 2 I listen to primarily.
But you know, you talked about K94 earlier, and that was a great channel. Then when they went by the wayside, there was a channel out of Virginia that came through and had WRDU 106.1. They were actually the last ones that I remember that played rock music and didn't turn into what I call the cookie cutter radio stations where they're told to play and it's the same thing every 3 hours. But yeah, they were the last of that breed, and you don't see it anymore. And it's a shame, because you could call in and ask for off the wall song off one of the albums that hardly anybody ever played, and they would play it back then. But not anymore.
Yeah. There was one, probably, it may have been 10, 12 years ago now. I don't remember the exact call letters. I think it was 1037 or something like that. They were actually Hartford, Elizabeth, Outer Banks, or something like that. And they actually were more. They weren't around very long, maybe a couple of years. They actually reminded me more of a cross of between K94 and old FM 99. They would play. I mean, you would hear things you wouldn't hear now. I mean, you would hear Rainbow and
Oh wow.
Maybe some older older Black Sabbath stuff, and some of the older stuff that wasn't people that just didn't play now. But
Right.
like I say, they didn't hang around. I think maybe 2 years they were around, and then I don't even think it's not around anymore. I don't know what happened with them.
Yeah, it probably fell by the wayside when all these cookie cutter iHeartRadio took over everything. But so number 7 for me was Hellraiser. Now, what's your number 6?
Number 6 for me is Shot in the Dark from The Ultimate Sin. Here again, that was a big video.
Yeah.
And, those in the early to mid 80s, there went with the MTV thing again. The videos were good songs. And you had that video with it too, and it just stuck with you. And I've loved that back then too. I mean, back then every video he came out with, I was in love with. I was just all about Ozzy.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you took my Shot in the Dark comes up a little bit further up the line for me too. So, but yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
And now I was going to say back in high school, I don't know how it was in your class, but in my class, half of us, maybe half of us were rock. We were hard rock. We were Ozzy. We were Black Sabbath, Molly, Deep Purple, and the other half were more into the Earth, Wind, and Fire and Kool and the Gang and that kind of stuff. Because they used to look at in our lockers, we would have pictures of Ozzy and Kiss, and they all thought we were demon worshipers or something like that,
Yeah, we had some people. We were a little diverse. We had, of course, I know we had a girl in our class that she listened to, and it was a little bit later on, but she would listen like the REMs and stuff like that, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I was sitting there like, come on, no, let's hear some Ozzy, let's hear some Motley Crue, Poison, but then we had some that were, I had a cousin that was like he was into both. He was into the rock and into the rap stuff. We'd go over to his house. You'd hear some rock playing, and the next thing you know, he'd pull out the tape and play the Fat Boys. I know you remember the Fat Boys, don't you? That rap group. Yeah, I don't know when the last time somebody's mentioned the Fat Boys on the podcast, but they're getting some airtime tonight. Yeah, but we were. And I think by the time we graduated, it was our senior year. It was mostly rock stuff that we listened to, that everybody was listening to, because we kind of went retro a little bit, because a lot of us started listening to Led Zeppelin. That matter of fact, I know trip to the beach on senior week. On the way up there, we were videoing, and we had Led Zeppelin blaring in the car. So, I mean, yeah, it was pretty cool that we went kind of retro with it. But so Shot in the Dark is your number 6. Okay. Yep. Number 6 for me is Diary of a Madman. To hear the intro with Randy Rhoads, I mean, and I mean, this shows off his classical training, where he does the dun 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 dun, and then all of a sudden you hear dun 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 dun. I mean, holy, I can remember my brother bought this cassette and brought it home, and I was sitting there listening to it with him, and I was like, okay, this is not Kiss, because I just thought back then when that came out, I was like, well, the only rock band around is Kiss. That's the only one I listened to back then, but. This is pretty cool here, and then the older I got, of course, going back and listen to it now, you hear that intro, and Ozzy does a great great job with it, and it tells a good story in there. But the video, again, if you see the video of it, he's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. Ozzy really took advantage of the MTV stuff back then.
Oh, and that song, I love that song. They actually, during the concert, we saw him in Virginia. At the end of the concert, after he's gone, he did his encore and he's gone. The lights come back on. That's the song they played while everyone was filing out the door, leaving the arena. Yeah, but I love it. And my came on as one night. I think it was like a week ago. I was coming home one night listening to my satellite, and that song came on. And man, I had the window rattling. I love that part. Like the choir kind of I love it.
Yeah, the same here. Diary. Then that was a song that I probably 3 or 4 years ago probably would not be on my top 10 list. But the more I've sat there and listened to it, like I took that challenge to myself. I was like, I'm gonna listen to, not just listen to the good song, the singles off an album. I'm gonna listen to the entire albums. Yeah. I said I'm going to do at least one a day for a year, and I've got up to like, I think in March it'll be a year, and I'm up to about 680 albums I listened to. And Diary of a Madman, when I listened to that, I was like, holy crap. So it just solidifies what Randy Rhoads would do.
Let me ask, when you listen, do you have it playing in the room? Do you put the headphones on? How do you do it?
Now, if I'm here by myself, I'll have it on and I'll have it loud. But most of the time when, like if my wife and my daughter are home, I'll have my earbuds in and have it on like that. So, but I'll tell you this, I've noticed it's a totally different thing when you got your earbuds in.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was. I finally broke down maybe a year or so ago. I bought myself a really nice pair of headphones, and you're gonna think I'm an idiot, but I used to do this when I was in high school too. Put my headphones on, sit back in my chair in the dark, and listen to the albums, because the reason I did that, I do it occasionally now. You hear so much more of different parts. You get the entire thing. You'll hear things with that sitting in the middle of the living room, with the lights on and other stuff. You miss a lot.
Yes, you do.
And I mean,
definitely,
it's probably crazy. I mean,
no, it's not. I agree totally. I'm the kind of guy that I can't go to sleep unless there's some kind of noise going on. And my wife's polar opposite. She's got to have it quiet. She'll have the biggest thing she'll have. She's got to have a fan going. But so a lot of nights I've gone to sleep listening to music, and like you said, that's you hear a lot more when you've got those headphones on. And, you can, yeah, I totally agree. That ain't crazy to me.
There's many little parts, little sounds or whatever, effects or what here and there that you miss, but you'll catch it when you've got that. Everything else is blocked out, and you've got that. There's a lot of little things you'll say, "Hey, I never heard that before," or "I missed that."
Definitely. So we're up to our top 5 now. So who you got at number 5?
Number 5, I've got "Mama, I'm Coming Home" from the No More Tears. As the first maybe 3 albums, 3 or 4, I pretty much liked everything. Then we started Ozzy was getting into the late 80s up into the 90s. When his albums came out, I really only had maybe 1 or 2 that I liked. And that be one of them. I think there were, let me see. There was a couple of songs on that album, but that one was another one of those, and you could tell how he grew a lot. They did a lot more. Back in the beginning, it was pretty much hardcore, plug it in and let's go. Then they started adding a lot more. But I like that. I don't know exactly what else to say about it or why. I just, sometimes just hear something and you like it.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little bit further up the line for me. So yeah, I just started. I think on the Ultimate Sin, you started hearing more keyboards. You started hearing more stuff added to it, like you said, and it's kept on going throughout the years up till today. But yeah, I'm gonna save my comments for that for a little bit further up the list here. But because that's I don't want to give away too much. But number 5 for me is off Blizzard of Oz, and this is the one I was talking about that I never really paid a whole lot of attention to until this past year. Listened to the album, and it's Revelation Mother Earth. Because in my opinion, and I know there's a lot of people probably won't agree with me, it's probably one of the best songs Randy Rhoads played on because there's so many different directions on it. It slows down, it speeds up. He's doing this, and I mean Ozzy. When he says, "Please let my mother live," and then it's "Mama," and he starts going to that, and Randy Rhoads with that guitar solo, man, it is killer. I put that on repeat like 5 times in a row when I was listening to that. I said, man, how have I missed this over the years? How have I missed how great this song is over the years? But yeah, Revelation Mother Earth, and listening to it live, I think that was actually on the that concert that I was telling you I was looking at. Yeah, great song. I love Revelation Mother. I know a lot of people, my guys up there at the Shout It Out Loud cast, when they did their album review of this, some of them didn't like it, but I think my man Tom up there liked it, and I would have to agree with Tom on this. Revelation Mother Earth is a great song.
Yeah.
I gotta throw let's throw a little shout outs right quick before we move on. My guys over there at the podcast Playlist Wars, Brian and Gomez are watching us tonight. I appreciate you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. And then we got a Twitter fan that has shared his list. And man, he's got some good, and he's got some deep cuts up here. We'll get to his and to Neil Callahan's songs that he's got up here as soon as we get through at our list. But we'll definitely, James Ferguson, we appreciate you listening, bud. If you give us some more, keep watching, tell us what you think about our list, and we appreciate you listening out there, all you guys listening out there. So,
hey, Steve, I got to grab a cord real quick. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My phone.
Go ahead. We'll kill some time. Go ahead. So,
all right,
let's go ahead and talk about James Ferguson, what he's got up here. No particular order. He makes that clear. Secret Loser, The Ultimate Sin, Party with the Animals, Hellraiser, yeah. Bark at the Moon, yeah. Shot in the Dark, yeah. Shot in the Dark, yeah. We'll get to that in just a few minutes with me. Mr. Crowley, Over the Mountain, Desire, and Zombie Style. So it looks like he's a big, he's all around Ozzy fan there. It's a little bit of the early days, a little bit of the later days. I want to know if you guys are out there listening right now. What do you think of Ozzy's new album? I know it's got some mixed reviews. Some people hate it, and some people love it. I liked it. I really did like it. I thought it was pretty good. The song with Elton John, "The Ordinary Man," was pretty good. But tell us what you think about that new album. And there's talk that Ozzy's going to come out with another album soon. I sure hope so. I'd love to see another Ozzy album. And now I think he's what is the NFTs now? He's big into that. I think he's got a bat NFT now. So let us know what you guys think. What's your favorite Ozzy album? There's a lot. That would be hard for me to pick your favorite Ozzy album there. But I think we got Chris back now. You back there, bud? You got everything straight
I'm
now?
back. Sorry.
No, you good.
We
good.
got power again.
Hold on. I dropped my pen. Hold on. We're having issues here in the metropolis. But number 4. What's your number 4?
Number 4, I have got The Ultimate Sin from that album. There again, I guess probably a lot of people may. I've got my old Ozzy and I got my new Ozzy, and one there, they're two different. I think I probably repeat myself. They're two different. It's still Ozzy. It still rocks. It's still hardcore. But there's a difference in them in the two. In the first 3 and 4.
It is.
But it was still good. There's nothing, no drop off anywhere. I think I remember getting that. I think CDs had come along by that time. Well, it was like the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that was 85 or 86 when the Ultimate Sin come out.
Yeah. CDs were pretty new to us at that point. I was still in the commode. And now you can't hardly I don't even see anything to play a CD on anymore.
No. But they are saying, like vinyl made the comeback. Now they're saying CDs are going to make a comeback. So if you got your old CD players, you better get them ready. But
and I've got to get a new record player because I have primarily Kiss records because I'm big Kiss. I probably got a stack this tall of Kiss. I think I have almost every Kiss record. So I got them on. I hadn't seen a turntable in 15 years in my house.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for my daughter wanting one, we probably wouldn't have one here. But I've got still. I think I'm missing two Kiss albums. They were the newest two. That was Monster and Sonic Boom from having all of them.
Right.
But I actually picked up a good copy of. I don't know if you remember the import that came out after the Elder Killers.
I did.
It was a compilation album, but it had 4 new songs on it. But I picked that up not too long ago. I got a good deal on that. But Killers. He's going to bring his Kiss stuff out.
No, I'm back.
Oh, I thought you were going to get your Kiss stuff out. But
no.
I just got the. I don't know if you saw it or not. They did the. How many years has it been? Destroyer. Was it 45? 45 years since Destroyer come out?
Yeah, I think it was 75, 76 when it came out.
Hold on. I know we're talking Ozzy, but hold on one second. I'll show you. Yeah, this was Destroyer 45th anniversary deluxe edition, and this, if you're, and that's the CDs, and I got the vinyl as well, but the CDs actually came with, man, it's books, flyers. They went all out for that. That's a great pickup. If somebody likes to collect Kiss stuff, that's a good pickup right there to get. It's just full of great stuff. But number 4, we're on number 4 for me. And you had took this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
You're number 6. Shot in the Dark. This is where it all started for me with Ozzy. The video hooked me in, and that, that's the thing and I know you got YouTube now, and nobody wants to. Who wants to sit there and watch MTV and have to wait for a video to come up when you can watch it anytime you want to on YouTube? I get that, but change the name from MTV to something else. Then, if you're not gonna play music, but the videos back then, even when you hear the song on the radio, would say, "Man, that's a good song. I like that song." When you saw the video, it made you like it even more. It made you want, I've got to go out and buy that right now. Yeah. And Shot in the Dark was one of those because I remember cutting grass during the summer, saved up my money, and went out and bought the cassette as soon as I had enough money for it. And I wore that tape out. But Shot in the Dark, still love to hear that. Every once in a while, you'll see him play it live. But yeah, it's a great song and a great video. I'm sure everybody, if you're an Ozzy fan, has checked out Shot in the Dark. But yeah, that's my number 4 is Shot in the Dark. All right. Number 3 for you. Getting into the short roads now.
Yeah, we're going all the way back to 1 again. From the Diary album, Flying High Again. That song, I liked Blizzard, and me and my buddies and all, we listened to it and liked it then. But what really grabbed us and shook us the hardest was when the Diary album came out. And Flying High Again, FM 99 and I guess K94 too, they played it hard when it came that they promoted that song. It seemed like more than any other one that was coming out right then for Ozzy, and we all just fell in love with that. That's a hard rocking song. I love the way it slowed down a little bit, but then you pick up. But it was just so hard, and back then that's what we were looking for.
Yeah,
in the early '80s, me and the other guys that I hung around with, anything that came out like that, man, we were all over it. And I remember them playing it when I saw it. And, of course, all of it was good, but we had built up, getting ready for it. And then when he finally played it, that was the greatest. But
yeah,
that's my number 3.
That has become a staple, I think, at his concerts. It's Flying High Again. One of the good ones there.
Yeah.
So number 3 for me, and I had, we talked about Fatigue, and I know this is a song you don't like to play anymore, but had to put Crazy Train up there. Because that's just the quintessential Ozzy song. But, Randy Rhoads, what can you say? I remember, not just the single version, but I think was it 87, he came out with the tribute album with the live version, actual concert with Randy Rhoads playing in it, and then he redid the video for it. But to hear it live, back then you're like, I've heard all this about Randy Rhoads, and you hear the studio stuff, but then to hear it live, because that was the first time I had ever heard Randy Rhoads live, and I was like, wow, he really hits it, because I think they did that whole album. To me, that's a great live album too. But Crazy Train, I know it's Fatigued, I know it gets played to death, but yeah, it's still that when you hear that start to it, that's one of the pump up songs over there for the football team. They love it too. It's good to see these kids going retro though. A lot of these kids are not into the current stuff. A lot of guys when I got on the football team now, they're talking about play some Bon Jovi, play some Poison, play something like that. Don't play this stuff nowadays. And I was like, okay, you're fine with me, bud. You have no problem with me. I won't play it. But so Crazy Train for me is my number 3.
that is one song that I don't. I mean, you're not an Ozzy fan. Every person in this country's song. Everybody, we have it at football games over here, and it is good. And I will occasionally. It's not as often as used. I'll break it out and play it every now and then.
Yeah,
But
it's been played. It has been played to death.
You hear it
Definitely.
so, yeah. But it's still good.
Yeah. All right. So we're up to number 2. What you got at number 2?
Number 2, No More Tears. I don't know why. I was sitting there with my list, the other night trying to place on there. And I actually was, as I was writing songs down, I listened to a little shot of each one of them.
Right.
And I don't know something about that. I slapped it up there. I don't really know why. I love the song. Again, I like it.
Yeah, I mean it's different. It starts off with the keyboard, really heavy on the keyboard at first, but Zakk Wylde, I'll have to say this, like we talked about before, he managed to find some great guitar players, and it's something to come up with one, but when you come up with, and I'm not throwing any shade at anybody after Zakk Wylde, but those 3 right there, those first 3 with Rhodes, with Jakey Lee, and Zakk Wylde are, great guitar players. You won't find many better than that. But yeah, No More Tears was on the verge of being in my top 10, and I put it out at the last minute. But yeah, and I do like that song. There's another song on the No More Tears album that I like, and that it was close. It was Road to Nowhere. That was one that almost made it on the list as well. But it's tough. People don't realize, I could come up with 10 Ozzy Osbourne songs, but then you get to looking at your list and you're like, I'm leaving this out. I'm leaving this out. But it's tougher than it looks.
Well, like you say, there's so many in there, and you can't leave anything out. But you got to, if you want to stay 10, there's a lot that I was going through the other night that I had forgotten about.
Yeah.
And I'd always found, almost every album I found one song that I had forgotten. That it's not one that they played a lot. It was a deeper track, but it was always at least one I had forgotten about, and I really liked it.
Definitely. All right, number 2 for me, off Blizzard of Oz, Mr. Crowley. I just love the biggest thing about Mr. Crowley, and this is a repeat, is Randy Rhoads' guitar solo in this. I mean, the guy, and to say it's a tragedy for anybody to lose their life in an accident as young as he was, but to not be able to see what this guy could do, what he may have done after how good he would have become, because he was already great, and he had been, he had the years with Quiet Riot, and then he left those guys to go with the Ozzy band, but there's no telling what this guy could have done after that. It just makes you sad every time you think about it. This guy was cut down so short in his life, and as talented as he was, but man, the guitar solo for this makes the song. I don't care. Ozzy does a great job with the singing, but when it gets to that guitar solo, I'm like, all right, here we go. And just love it. Randy Rhoads, definitely one of the, if not the greatest guitar player in his short time out there.
Yeah. It's a shame that we didn't get more of it.
Exactly. And if Ozzy, and I don't know if you saw it, there was a documentary that came out. It's probably been about 3 or 4 years ago. And the guy was in the studio with Ozzy, and they were playing the actual recording in the studio, and it was something after they got through with the song, and Randy Rhoads just kept playing, and you see Ozzy's face just go like, what is that? And it was like, what, he's just playing around, and he was like, and Ozzy's just like, who else could do that? And I mean, who else could do what he just did right there? And Ozzy's just like, his jaw dropped. He had never heard it before. And if there's more stuff out there that we hadn't heard from Randy Rhoads, by all means, they need to put it out. I mean, because
Oh yeah,
this guy was freaking awesome. All right.
definitely.
So now the big moment. You're number one.
Number one. Here I'm going all the way back to 81 again, because those first two albums are really what grabbed me. But Overton from Diary is my number one.
What was it you said?
About that. Over the Mountain.
Over the Mountain. I got you.
I just think about we for us getting the set, and I think the opening track that album, I believe.
Hold on,
and it just the drums, the guitar, the whole thing. It's just hard from the get go.
I'm looking right now to see if that was opening track. I think you're right. I got my iPad here.
I want to say, I think it was the first one, and then Flying High Again. I think it was number 2 or 3 on that list, track list.
Yep, you're right. Over the Mountain leads off, and then Flying High Again.
Yeah, I can remember we got that cassette, and my buddy OC, I don't know if you remember, he had like a 68 Mustang.
I do.
And he had back then had the big car stereo, and we tried to see how many speakers we could put in a car. And everybody had a power booster back then also. And when that would come on, and we'd hit that button, and it was, come on, let's go.
I'm sure you didn't hear anything from my daddy about y'all playing that stuff too loud. All right. So my number one, and you took this one earlier, and I know I'm gonna probably catch a lot of flack from people for this being my number one, but this is a song that whenever it comes on, I crank it up. I mean, it's just a great song to me. Off No More Tears, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Zakk Wylde, I love the video, and Zakk Wylde is playing his butt off in on this song, but something about it, and like you said, I can't explain why I like it so much, but it's just that sound of it, and it's not really. I don't think you really call it a ballad. It's too up tempo to be a ballad, but I've heard stories over the years that this is talking about him talking to Sharon. He's actually writing this to Sharon, and it doesn't sound too flattering if he's writing it to Sharon. You took me in and you drove me out. You had me hypnotized, lost and found, and turned around like the fire in your eyes. But and let me just say a little thing there. What happened to Zakk Wylde? You go back and watch From No Rest for the Wicked and From No More Tears, and watch this guy, long blonde hair, clean cut, little dude. And now you look at him with Black Label Society and with Ozzy. He is biker looking. He's got a beard, long hair. He's huge. What the heck? When I saw that the first time after he got that, I said, what happened? This is not Zakk Wylde.
Yeah, he definitely embraced the metal the metal scene for sure.
He definitely did.
Well, you may have seen it. I've seen, I think, some YouTube videos of him back when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have no clue that was going to turn into what you got now.
Because actually, when they were auditioning guitar players, I forgot what his name was, but it wasn't Zach Wild, I don't think. But there was another guy that they said was even better than Zach Wild. And when I heard that, I was like, that's crazy. I mean, back then, but I don't know what happened with that guy. It seems like and I may be wrong on this, so don't quote me on this. Seems like he got crossed the logs with Sharon or Ozzy one during the auditions or something, and they went with Zach. And but yeah, that was a good choice. But yeah, I mean, like I said, how do you come up with these great guitar players over and over again? I mean, it's insane to me.
Yeah.
But
he's had some of the best for sure. Yeah, one thing
they know how to pick them. That's for sure.
Mama, I'm coming home. One thing I was going to say about that, what I really like about that song, it starts out so smooth, and then it gets real raw, real quick. But
yeah,
that's exactly
it does.
Kicking it.
Yep, and some of my ones that didn't make the list, time after time, breaking all the rules. I don't know. Of course, I had you had Bark at the Moon. I do now. This is a ballad, kind of sappy, and it was later but Dreamer. I did like Dreamer. I had Over the Mountain up there, Road to Nowhere.
Right, yeah.
And I had No More Tears. That was on my honorable mention. But all right, Neil Callahan. He had some in his list. He had Flying High Again, Shot in the Dark, See You on the Other Side, and Diary of a Madman. And we mentioned James Ferguson on Twitter. He had Secret Loser, which is a deep cut off Ultimate Sin. He had the Ultimate Sin like you did. Party with the Animals, which that's pretty cool. Hellraiser, Bark at the Moon, Shot in the Dark, Mr. Crowley. Oh, he had your number one, Over the Mountain, Desire, and Zombie Stomp. And he said that was in no particular order. But we appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Neil and James out there, and the guys from Playlist Wars, and my buddy who has done the show with me, Ingve Swain, who did my Van Halen top 10. Appreciate you guys listening. But let's talk a little bit about this podcast you do. You get the it's you and your son Quint, who I've been on the show before. And how did this podcast come about? Swamp Talk podcast. I got a feeling I know where Swamp Talk came from because you were over there at Gates County. I'm pretty sure that's where the name come from. But how did this come about with you two?
Well, we've always, Quinton and I, he and I, of course, both big football fans, big college sports fans in general. We are hardcore NC State. Of course, he's a student at the University of Mount Olive now, and since he's been there, we've become big UMO fans. Well, we just right now today, and I think we are 100 and something like 105 shows. Maybe this will make a good podcast because he and I are a lot around each other a lot. We go a lot together, and of course, not right now. He's in school, but we were always talking about sports and different things like that. And I told him, I said, let's make a good podcast. I said, look, And he was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And he kind of was, he got excited about it. He handles all the technical parts of it. I can hammer on it, and that's about it. But anyway, we decided to try it, and like I say, I think we're up. We may be up to 110 now. We started out primarily NC State sports. He was at Mount Olive, and we decided to pull Mount Olive into it because he's really close to a lot of the athletes that go there. His best friends are on the baseball team. So we decided to go half state and half Mount Olive. And we've expanded that as well because we're over here near Eaton. We're big Eatonton Steamers fans in the summertime. The baseball team over there. We try to. We're actually getting another change to the show. We're going to kind of go maybe half or less NC State, and then we're going to do maybe a quarter to a half UMO. We're still going to throw in our Eatonton stuff. We also do a lot of high school football, primarily. But we're going to try and throw in maybe a quarter of the show there. We're going to do, we may talk about music one day. We may talk about something else that's going on, or we're just going to kind of throw some more stuff in and shuffle it around a little bit.
Right.
We're still, we still, and with state, we pretty much try to stay on top of all things, whether it's football, baseball, wrestling. We're trying to do the same thing with Olive. They're different sports. Trying to get all of them more. We actually had the UMO men's basketball coach, Joey Higginbotham. We had him on last weekend, and I think we've got the baseball coach coming up. We're actually going to talk to some players, hopefully in the next few weeks. That was pretty much how it was. We were just riding along one day, and I said, "Hey, let's do a podcast." And
yeah.
Quinton said, "Okay," and that's kind of it started. It's been going on for a while now. It's a little easier for us to do it when he's at home, but for the past couple of months here, we've discovered the wonderful world of Zoom meetings. So that's kind of how we do it now. We have a lot of fun with it. We try to keep it at about an hour. Sometimes you die and you go over. So, but we have a lot of fun. Like I say, we're going to try to shake it up a little bit, I think, this year and include some other things as well. It's still primarily sports, but I want to throw a little more in there as well, make it a little more interesting. Try to reach out to a few more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys, you can check them guys. You look up anywhere you look up your podcast, you listen to your podcast, look up Swamp Talk Podcast. Now, Quint, I will tell you this, Quint texts me every once in a while. And I was surprised that it's funny because I'm a Carolina basketball fan. And after the Carolina State game at Chapel Hill, I get a text like the Thursday after that from him with he had found a YouTube video of best NC State plays versus Carolina. And he sent it to me. He said, you might want to check this out. I said, and my response back was, I said, is there anything up there from this past Saturday? And he said, I knew I should have kept my mouth shut. And, but I have a good time talking to him. Guys, check out if you're a fan of sport, and I need to give you a name. If you said you cover NC State wrestling, I need to give you a name. When we get off the air, I'll give it to you that you guys should get in contact with, and I guarantee he would be a great guest. He's been on one of my shows before, but he would be a great guest for you guys to talk about. He is big time into NC State wrestling, and he would be able to. And you may already know him, but I'm gonna give you the name after we get off the air. But
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. We're going to have you back on again and talk some more music because you're right up my alley with the music you listen to and the music I listen to. We have to bring you back on here sometime, talk some Kiss. As big a Kiss fans as both me and you are, we'll have to talk some Kiss sometime. Man, I have enjoyed it tonight. Yeah. I hope you have, and I hope you guys out there have enjoyed it. If you've got a top 10 list, I've already got somebody else messaging me now. I'm going to have to think about it for a minute before I send my list in to you. So we'll have all our list up where you can check them out and you can tell us what you think, where we went wrong, where we went right, and what you would do. But Chris, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, taking time out of your schedule. We appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. I enjoyed it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. We just got through with our top 10 Ozzy Osbourne songs of all time. You guys have a great night.